Chapter 4. The Door of Choices. The massive door loomed before Maeve, its carvings seeming to shift under the dim glow of the chamber. Every tick of an unseen clock echoed through the room, a constant reminder of the stakes. She approached cautiously, her fingers brushing over the engravings. The symbols, gears, stars, and intricate patterns felt alive, pulsing faintly under her touch. At the center was a keyhole, perfectly shaped for the silver key in her hand. Maeve hesitated, her thoughts racing. What's behind this door, and what will it cost me to open it? The whispers returned, softer this time, almost like a chant. Every choice has a price. Every step a consequence. Swallowing her fear, Maeve inserted the key. It turned smoothly, and the door groaned as it swung open, revealing a circular room bathed in golden light. In the center of the room was a pedestal, and atop it sat a book bound in black leather. Its edges shimmered with an otherworldly glow, as though it held the weight of countless secrets. Maeve approached, her footsteps echoing on the marble floor. The book's cover bore a single inscription, the Book of Threads. "What is this?" she whispered. A voice, different from the one in the forest, spoke, calm and melodic. "This is the record of every life connected to yours, every decision you've made and every ripple it has caused." The voice seemed to come from the room itself, vibrating through the air. Maeve hesitated, then opened the book. The pages turned on their own, revealing glowing threads woven into intricate patterns. The first page showed a golden thread branching out into smaller strands. As she stared, scenes began to emerge. Her childhood, her decision to leave home, the people she had met along the way. Each thread represents a choice, the voice explained. Some are small, others monumental. Together, they form the tapestry of your life. Maeve's eyes widened as the threads shifted, intertwining with others she didn't recognize. One thread, faint and silvery, connected her to a stranger in a hospital bed. Another glowed red, tied to the shadowy figure from the forest. "Why is that one red?" Maeve asked, her voice trembling. "Because it represents danger," the voice replied. "A choice you made or avoided that carries great consequences." Maeve's heart pounded. The red thread pulsed, its glow intensifying as it twisted through the tapestry. "What happens if I follow it?" The voice grew somber. "You will find the truth you seek. But be warned, the truth is not always kind." Maeve turned the page and the red thread expanded, forming a new image. She saw herself standing at a crossroads, two paths stretching before her. On one, she held the hourglass. On the other, it lay shattered at her feet. "What does this mean?" "It means you must decide," the voice said. "Will you take on the burden of the keeper, or let the threads unravel?" Maeve clenched her fists. The weight of the decision pressed down on her. But deep inside, she knew she couldn't walk away. She had spent too long running from responsibility, from fear. "I'll take it," she said, her voice firm. "I'll be the keeper." The book glowed brightly, and the threads began to weave together, forming a new pattern. The red thread dimmed, replaced by a golden light that spread across the page. As the light faded, the pedestal and book vanished, and Maeve found herself back in the forest clearing. The hourglass rested in her hands, glowing softly. The whispers returned, this time filled with reverence. "The keeper has risen. Time is safe for now." Maeve looked at the hourglass, its golden sand steady and calm. She didn't know what challenges lay ahead, but for the first time in years, she felt a sense of purpose. Chapter 5. The Keeper's Burden. The forest had changed. Where before it had been dark and suffocating, now it shimmered with life. Golden light filtered through the trees, and the air buzzed with an energy Maeve couldn't quite place. The hourglass in her hands glowed faintly, its sand flowing steadily. Maeve couldn't tear her eyes away from it. This is my responsibility now. But what does it truly mean to be the keeper? Her thoughts were interrupted by a rustling sound. She turned sharply, gripping the hourglass protectively. From the shadows emerged a man, his face weathered but kind. He wore a deep green cloak, the edges embroidered with intricate patterns of stars and gears. "You must be Maeve," he said, his voice warm but commanding. "The forest whispered of your arrival." Maeve tensed. "Who are you?" The man placed a hand over his heart and bowed slightly. "I am Alaric, a guide for the keeper. I have awaited this moment for a very long time." Maeve's grip on the hourglass tightened. "If you've been waiting, then tell me. What am I supposed to do with this?" Alaric smiled faintly. "The keeper safeguards time, ensuring its flow remains steady and unbroken. But your task is not simply to protect, it is to mend. The threads of time have frayed, and chaos is spreading." Maeve frowned. "Frayed? Chaos? What does that mean?" Alaric gestured for her to follow. "Come, it's easier to show you." Reluctantly, Maeve followed him deeper into the forest. They emerged into a clearing where the air seemed to ripple unnaturally. Golden threads shimmered in the space around them, but some were knotted, others frayed and unraveling. "These are the threads of time," Alaric explained. "Each one represents a life, a story. When they tangle or break, the consequences ripple through the world." Maeve reached out to touch a nearby thread, but Alaric stopped her. "Careful, these threads are delicate. Even a keeper must tread lightly." She withdrew her hand, her chest tightening. "How am I supposed to fix this? I don't know anything about time or threads or any of this." Alaric studied her for a moment. "You underestimate yourself. The key chose you for a reason. Your actions, your choices, they've already proven your worth." Maeve shook her head. "I'm just one person. What if I fail?" "You're not alone," Alaric said gently. "The keeper never works in isolation. But the first step is accepting that you have the power to make a difference." Maeve's gaze drifted back to the threads. Among the chaos, she noticed one thread glowing faintly red. It pulsed with a strange energy, drawing her closer. "What's this one?" she asked. Alaric's expression darkened. "That thread belongs to someone whose choices have disrupted the balance. If left unchecked, their actions could unravel countless lives." Maeve hesitated. "What do I do?" Alaric placed a hand on her shoulder. "You must follow the thread to its source. Find the person it belongs to and guide them toward the right path. But be warned, this will not be easy. Some resist the truth, even when it's right before them." The weight of his words settled heavily on Maeve's shoulders. She looked at the red thread, its glow steady but ominous. "I'll do it," she said finally. "Tell me how to start." Alaric nodded approvingly. "Hold the hourglass close and focus on the thread. It will show you the way." Maeve clutched the hourglass tightly and closed her eyes. The air around her shifted, the world dissolving into a whirlwind of light and sound. When the chaos subsided, she found herself standing in a small, dimly lit room. A man sat at a desk, his head in his hands. Papers were scattered across the surface, and the weight of despair hung heavily in the air. Maeve stepped closer, her heart pounding. Who is he? And why is his thread so tangled? The hourglass glowed softly, as if urging her forward. Maeve took a deep breath. Whatever lay ahead, she knew this was just the beginning of her journey as the keeper. Chapter 6. The Choice of Fate. The dimly lit room was heavy with tension. Maeve stood frozen, watching the man at the desk, his back hunched in sorrow. His thread, glowing red and tangled, led directly to him. She knew this was the person she had to confront, the one whose choices were threatening to unravel time itself. She stepped forward, her footsteps echoing in the silence. The man didn't notice her approach, lost in his own thoughts. Maeve took a deep breath and spoke softly. "You don't have to bear this burden alone." The man jerked his head up, his eyes wide in surprise. He was young, no older than Maeve, with dark circles under his eyes, his face etched with regret. He looked as though he hadn't slept in days. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice hoarse. Maeve hesitated, but then spoke the truth. "I'm here to help you. I'm the keeper of time. Your choices are causing the threads to unravel, and if you don't change, there will be consequences." The man's expression darkened, and he stood abruptly, his fists clenched. "I don't need help. I'm not the one who made this mess." Maeve's heart clenched as she saw the pain in his eyes. "You're right. We can't change the past, but you can still make the right choice now." His gaze flickered to the scattered papers on the desk. Scraps of letters, abandoned projects, and journals filled with half-written thoughts. It was clear that something weighed heavily on him. "I've lost everything," he muttered, almost to himself. "I tried to fix it, but nothing works. I ruined it all." Maeve stepped closer, the hourglass warm in her hands. "It's not too late. You still have the power to make a difference." The man shook his head, his voice bitter. "You don't understand. I thought I could change things. I thought I could control it, but I only made it worse." Maeve watched him, the red thread pulsing with energy. This is it, she thought. I have to show him that he's not alone in this, that he has the power to change, to heal the broken threads. "Sometimes," Maeve said softly, "we have to accept that we're not in control. That's part of being human. But the beauty is that we can choose to act differently, to make amends." The man looked at her, his eyes filled with doubt. "What if I make the wrong choice again?" "You won't be alone," Maeve reassured him. "The key is in your hands. You can choose a different path, but you have to trust yourself." For a long moment, the man stared at her, uncertainty clouding his features. But then, as if the weight of Maeve's words settled within him, he exhaled deeply, his shoulders sagging. "I've been running from the truth," he said quietly. "I've been so focused on what I can't change that I've ignored what I can." Maeve nodded. "We all make mistakes, but that doesn't mean it's the end. It's never too late to do better." The man looked down at the desk, his hand resting on a torn letter. He slowly picked it up, his fingers trembling. "I think I know what I need to do." The red thread pulsed once more, then began to shift, its light growing calmer, more steady. Maeve smiled, relief flooding through her. He was making the right choice. As the man left the room, Maeve felt the shift in the air, the ripples of time slowly being mended. The red thread faded, replaced by a golden glow that spread throughout the room. Maeve closed her eyes, feeling the weight of the hourglass in her hands, now steady and balanced. She had completed her task. But as she stood there, something inside her stirred, an understanding that her journey was far from over. Time was not a burden, it was a gift, and Maeve had only just begun to learn how to wield it. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe Fluent Through Stories, and share this story with your friends. Stay tuned for our next story. See you soon.